David, tell me why you're here today.
Because you told me to be here.
You asked me to marry you. What did I say?
I think you cursed once or twice. On top of the values, just try to find someone who's like as hot as you can get away with. and then you're going to be set. You brought me along to understand that like the pregnancy was also like a shared experience. And even before that, conception was... How are you doing?
Welcome to Under the Sun Podcast.
I'm Irene.
And I'm Aileeah. We're so glad you're here. Grab a hot
or iced coffee and join us as we talk about everything under the sun.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. This is cozier than
It is
I
cozy. This is
expected.
the coziest we've ever had. I've never recorded on this couch before, but I'm glad it's with you. Ting me, bro. I got hot chocolate with raw milk. Delightful. In case anybody doesn't know, this is my husband, Dave. Have you ever been on camera before? Hey.
Thanks for having me. What are we doing here?
Well, I figured this week is Valentine's Day, and so I thought we've already wanted to have you and Irene interview Jacob on the podcast. So I thought it'd be a good week. I mean, you live here. We live in the same house. There's no reason why we can't just, during a kid's nap time, record a podcast. So here we are. So tell me about who you are and what you do. Or
I feel like I don't have the typical
David, tell me why you're here today.
Yeah, like usually it's because you told me to be here. Normally it's there's like someone will give a background about how they're an expert in this or they, or
see, we never do that. I like people to tell their own thing.
No, and they tell their thing and they're some sort of important person and
you are important. You're the most important to me. Yeah. Maybe let's just start with like roommate? A get to know us as a couple, a unit. Why don't you tell us like how we met? Tell the listeners how we met.
Oh man,
I was there, so
it was scandalous. It was a workplace romance.
Mm-hmm. Little Bonnie and Clyde situation. We both had separate codes to the vault. We could have made a heist.
I really should have, probably.
Maybe.
But we didn't. Mm-hmm. We met working at the bank together. I was a banker. Mm-hmm. You were a teller. Could I make it any more obvious?
You're older than me and it's showing. Just kidding.
You were and still are extremely lovely.
And now I know how to cook.
And you're even lovelier now, yes. Mm-hmm. Now you're the mother of my child and the cooker of my sourdough.
I know.
And I think you're probably also the mother hen to our flock of chickens.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's so much more to you than I realized.
I never thought I would be a mother to a bunch of hens. I didn't realize that. If someone would have given me like I don't know what the game is, bingo, like some type of guesstimate of what my future would look like, I would never have guessed chickens because I hate birds. I hate birds.
You hated birds.
I hated birds. Now I'm a farmer. I can like touch a bird and I don't like wince at all. I'm just like, get out of here.
Now we just push them out of the way to get our get eggs.
So weird.
That is a weird thing about being chicken farmers now and just kind of being used to like, we have this big like 40-pound like turkey Tom this boy turkey that
we just like manhandle. We're just like, get out of here, Tom. Stop trying to hump us.
We're a little gentler.
Oh yeah, okay, of course.
But like reaching into the chicken roost, the roosting bins where there's like there's like 15. I know. There's like 15 birds at the end of the night just like hanging out there and you sort of like push them aside and reach past them and they're like right by your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think we'd be here, but here we are.
I know. Weird.
It's cool though.
I do want to bring up, I'm not sure if I've told this on the podcast though, before Dave ever came to work for the bank, I saw his picture on my coworker's desk because she was the mom of his best friend, and his best friend had just gotten married, and he was a groomsman in that wedding. And she was putting the just had them printed, like was still in like the Walgreens packet, and was like push pinning them into her like little cubicle thing because she was a teller too. And I was like, "Who is that?" And she was like, "Oh, that's Dave." I won't say what else she said. I'll just say this part that she's like, "Oh, this is Dave, and he's so wonderful. He's so great. I love him so much. Like, I hope he finds like the right girl." I'll just leave it at that. And I immediately in my mind, and I might have even said it audibly, I have no idea, but I definitely said it in my mind. I was like, I'm going to marry him. And I was dating someone at the time. And that night I went home and broke up with that boyfriend because I saw a picture of a man, which is so crazy to me.
It was a really good picture.
It wasn't actually that great a picture in hindsight. I've seen it since, but I, knowing you and how like handsome you are, it was,
Thank you.
It was, there's better photos of you out there.
You just manifested it. You decided that's what was going to happen, and I was powerless to fight it.
Well, I don't believe in manifestation. I do believe in prayer, but I did make a list of like, I don't know, the top 10, 15 things I wanted in a man, which are basically all the things that was not in the person I was actually dating. But like I made a whole list and you met every single criteria except for you were a brunette. But I like your blonde hair and I love our
except
cute little
for I was
blonde
not a brunette.
Yeah, except for you were not a brunette. So
yeah, we do have a blonde kid.
Yeah, we do. And so I love that. And then like a week or two later, Dave like just happens to stroll into the bank because he met the manager at the time at a Jimmy John's, and she was what? Like,
well, she knew
poached you basically?
She knew my dad because he banked there, and I had gone to lunch with my dad that day, and she happened to be there. She normally isn't even in that area. She's normally she was at a different thing and happened to stop in and recognized him, and they were talking, and I got introduced. And
and then you and your
the banker
fine butt came in, and I clocked you immediately. I was like, that's that guy from that picture. He's gonna be my husband.
Yeah, and you're creepy.
I mean, I didn't.
I like it though.
I wasn't like pushy about it.
No, you
You were dating somebody.
No, you weren't at all. But apparently you were in your mind.
In my mind, I was creepy as hell. But that's between me and my mind. So
that's between you and Jesus.
Yeah. So then, fast forward to 3 years.
Well, so we weren't allowed to date.
Oh, right.
Because I think specifically of a Bonnie and Clyde situation because of security reasons, in the bank. So we did, though. I was allowed to take you to a concert, though, because the boss had bought tickets to Zac Brown.
Yeah.
And I knew you loved Zac Brown.
I did.
And she could no longer go and had to liquidate those tickets in a hurry. And I was like, she's like, do you want those tickets? And I said, can I take Aileeah? And she looked at me and thought about it hard for a second and said, okay, fine. I was like, just friends.
Just friends. Did you actually think that? Did you think we were just friends at that point?
Well, we kind of had to go a period of time truly as just friends, which was actually, I think, really great for our relationship that we like had to. We were sort of structurally somewhat forced to like just sort of a Jim and Pam thing. Like you just had to like be around each other, get to know each other. And we did that. We talked a lot when we should have been working.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but
we probably weren't very productive.
No.
But
also like there's not much to do as a teller. Like you just wait for the people. That is the job, is like waiting for the people to get there.
You don't tell people things?
I'm surprised I was allowed to even do anything close to anything with math. Like I don't. That's a scary thing.
You know what's weird now is
I hate the banking system.
No, that's not weird. That sounds about right. But I can't remember if I told you this, but you go in now and there's no tellers at all.
I hate it.
It's just an ATM and you walk in the door, it's an ATM and then like a mortgage person and a banker and a few others, but like any cash transaction goes through this ATM where you call in and there's a teller on the screen, like a video teller. But you can take out a ton of money now. Way more than, did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. It used to be a limit of like $1,000 and now it's like 50 grand. We should start, go back to our Bonnie and Clyde roots and start robbing ATMs.
There is no, like we don't have the dual code that's something, there is no vault there
anymore. But we
have
a tractor and a chain and we can just.
Okay, well now you're just going to get us taken off of YouTube.
Just cut this part out.
I don't do any editing. I should. I
You're
think
an
I'm going to
editor.
start. I know, but I'm also a mother and This is a
You just like to
side
keep
hustle.
it authentic.
I do. I like.
I'm just saying our side hustle should instead be bank ATMs.
I mean, it would be a lot faster. But I've always said that if I didn't have any ethics, I would definitely be selling feet pics online for a bunch of money.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but like I would totally like because the money you can make, but also I feel like that leads people to sin, and
Yeah.
like you're basically by proxy causing people to sin. So
Also,
that's not a good.
If we
thing.
were gonna try to make money with feet pics, I mean, in this house, I mean, I've got some good feet. So between the two of us, I think we know who'd be in front of the camera.
Okay. I don't care. Like I don't think it's like there are like weird things like feet fetishes with where the second toe is longer than the big toe. Like that's a specialty
thing?
market. Yeah.
Good Lord. People
The
are so
internet
weird.
is the worst thing that ever happened to humanity.
People are so like broken
Yeah.
with their strange
Yeah.
desires.
Well, we don't have, I mean, this is not a topic I definitely want to get into, but like,
You have lovely feet, but like I don't get it.
I hate feet.
I don't get the whole thing. It's weird.
Your feet and Leo's feet are the only feet I'm willing to touch ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I don't like my
You
feet.
don't even like your own feet.
No. And I don't like my feet being touched
The
unless
problem,
like I'm
though-
wearing a
the
sock or
problem, though,
somebody's.
is like since I was like a young child, I
yeah.
have always loved just like rubbing my feet
I
together when I fall asleep or rubbing them against whatever's near, and you happen to be near, and so I rub my feet on your feet, and
Do you
it just
have any-
weirds you out.
Do you have any stories that are like that sometimes of like an awkward thing you did that like lives rent free in your mind that sometimes it just pops up and you're like, ugh. No.
With you or
No,
just
I'm just saying in general because like I have one about your feet that in our I was at my bridal shower that your mom's friends were throwing, and it was like a question game that they were like that everyone had to guess, and I don't know. The question was like, "What's something Dave does at night that perturbs you?" or something like that.
That's a weird.
It was I don't know what it
question
was.
with
It was something like something Dave does that like nobody knows or something. And I was like, "Oh, cricket feet?" And everyone was like, it was like crickets in the room. And people were like, "What?" And I was like, like he like lays down and like rubs his feet together. And everyone was like, and the silence lives rent free in my.
Were they like grossed out or weirded out?
They
Or
were
like,
like, I don't think they knew what to think. And then
were they looking for a
our
different
friend
response?
Jennifer was like, "Okay, that's new." And so like everyone knows about your cricket feet.
Now everyone knows about my cricket feet.
Well, now I don't have to live alone with that image. But anywho, so
Do you have brain fog? Are you lethargic? Do you have digestion issues? Do you not poop enough? Are you pooping too much? Do you have angry outbursts? Does your butthole itch? Irene, does your butthole itch? Don't answer that. Don't answer.
I'm gonna answer.
Well, if your butthole
No, I'm not
itches,
gonna
what does
answer
that
that
mean?
question. That means you have a worm.
Or many worms.
Lots of worms.
And I know what you're thinking. Worms? Are you kidding? That doesn't happen.
I've not left the country.
Yeah, it happens. Guys, like you can go touch the soil in your front yard and get worms from there. Like,
Yeah.
because
If you have
animals
pets,
pee,
they
yeah.
lick you.
We're disgusting, honestly. And like food, like
Yeah.
produce, if it's not cleaned properly or if it's grown and like, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So most cultures cleanse once a quarter.
Yeah.
So
Deworm themselves all the time.
you gotta deworm yourself and we have the perfect brand for you.
Yes. Rogers Hood is where we get all of our parasite things from. She has this kit. It gives you everything you need. It has 3 tinctures. There are
And heavy metals, too.
Yep, pulls heavy metals out. It's so great.
Yeah.
I did it. I'll just say it. I did it. And the very first day that I started the tinctures, an 8-inch tapeworm came out of my butt.
8 inch.
So, and I mean, I have left the country on like cruises, but it's all sanitary and everything's washed
Yeah.
and they're there.
It's just life and we have to just cleanse regularly.
Yeah.
So use our code UTSP10 and you won't regret it.
Yeah.
then you proposed to me.
I embrace it. I'm not ashamed. Yeah. Then I proposed, and
3.5 years later after dating.
we were going for a walk in the woods in the winter, and you spent, I think, a fairly large portion of that walk talking about some sort of mythical creature.
It wasn't mythical.
It was.
I remember exactly what it was.
All right, well, what was it?
It was the hermit man who lived on the PCT, who like
PCT?
the Pacific Crest Trail, like near the
should've
Pacific
listened
Crest.
closer.
I know. Apparently, you weren't like I was very invested. It was like a rogue story I read on the internet, but it was like a real guy who was found who had like when he was like 19 decided to opt out of society and just like lived somewhere deep in the PCT. I say T, but it's not on the trail, but like off the beaten track, and like built a hut and just like lived out there for 20 years. And then they found him and they were like, hey dude, you can't just live in this public park. And then he like didn't realize like the internet happened and all these things. Again, I'm just rambling about.
Well, so you went on and on for like 20 minutes about all of this. And meanwhile, I'm like, my heart's like beating and I'm like, I'm going to propose today, but she needs to quit talking about this strange, like wild man.
Yeah.
Just trying to find the right spot and the right moment. Mm-hmm. And I found it. But also, I kind of wanted that existence for a long time. I read
Hatchet.
there was a couple of Gary Paulson books, and Hatchet was one of them. And then I think there was another one where it was basically, I think it was him. And I think it was a story of a kid that just went to go like live in the woods, like a teenager, but like he went, and this was probably in Canada because I think he's from Canada. Anyway, that has always sounded appealing to me, to just like,
it sounds
be a
appealing
hermit
to
in
me
the
too.
woods. But you know what's weird is we watch all these shows now, like Homestead
Alone.
Rescue or Alone, and like that all actually seems really awful.
It's really hard. It's really isolating. No, like no pun intended, but
Right.
like lonely.
Right. But
We're
they're
meant
also
to be with people.
they're also surviving with very little. Like if you had
But if that was like your only thing, like you don't have to have a side hustle job where you're working 9 to 5, while also trying to like hunt for the food you're going to eat. Like this is your job, is living. That would be fantastic.
there's a lesson there.
What is it?
You always
Run
have
away?
you always have that option. No, I mean you could just living. You don't have to have the side hustle job. You don't always have to, like, you can just focus on your core. I mean, I think what you're saying is like don't work a 9 to 5 and like live that way. But I'm just saying we still.
I'm saying it would be really hard to like work a 9 to 5 or even have a side hustle. Well, no. The side hustle would be easy if you didn't have a full-time job, but like not easy, but different, more freeing.
Better. Yeah, I'm just saying like there's some. I think what you're getting at is there's something about like focusing on just your core needs: food, water, shelter, safety.
It makes you really thankful for the little things you have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we
Makes you care for
actually,
it.
you have the ability to focus on those things. We all do, but we preoccupy our time with other things and aren't really thankful of the fact that our core needs are usually met pretty easily.
Yeah. By a click of an Amazon button, you can have whatever thing that broke replaced. There's not much about like mending. That's something I'm trying to get better at. Like our sheet that ripped. Like I'm going to mend that because like it's organic cotton. It's nice. There's nothing wrong with, there is something wrong with the sheet. There's a big gaping hole.
A gigantic hole that started pretty small.
Yeah, I should have done it when it was small.
I don't know why my leg kept going through it. I'd get into bed and like slide into bed and it would just rip. Just more.
But there's no more, like there's not that much of taking really good care of the things you have and not having much of like, oh, like I've had this pocket knife for like 30 years. Like there's not much of that anymore. It's like, oh, I have a surplus of all those things. But
That's true. That's true. We definitely are like a consumer quantity, throw it away type of society
versus like our grandparents that like kept every little thing because you never know if you're going to need something because they didn't have that luxury. They had catalogs. Like remember those thick books that would be mailed to their houses?
I loved those.
I love those too.
I used to love the Cabela's catalog that would come with all the camping gear and outdoor gear, and then the Bass Pro. We used to like write our Christmas lists out from those big catalogs.
Nice.
They still exist. They're just online now.
I feel like in the early stages of me being around your family, your mom brought out like the shopping.
That sounds right.
Like what's it called?
Like
the newspaper that came that had like a bunch
the
of
ads.
Yeah, the ads. And she like brought us all markers and she was like, just circle what you want. And I was
Circle
like,
it? That's what she said?
Yeah.
That's what a not efficient system. Like then you have to look through a back look back through all the ads to try to see what people want. We weren't supposed to write it down?
No, it was circle it. And I just remember being so uncomfy. I was like, this is weird. But just because like we didn't grow up that way. It was like, it was like.
How'd you grow up? Tell people how you grew up.
Well, it was like you're really thankful for the gift that you had. Like it was just like your parents thought of a thing that you would like, and then they would give it to you. And then sometimes your siblings would give you a gift, but it was a modest. Like there wasn't
but you're
like
talking about gifts. I'm talking about like how you grew up.
No, that's not what we're getting into today.
Why not?
Because someday we'll talk about the cult, the cult of my upbringing.
Well, you're one of 7 kids for one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I
You
am.
grew up without a lot.
Yeah, but I actually have a song that, now my mom's going to bring this up, but like I have a song I wrote that like basically said like, you know, being kind of like the poor kid, but like totally grateful that I had that upbringing because I know so many adults that like got everything they wanted handed to them and they're still like wanting handouts and not quite mentally strong. I'm like, no, like we had everything we needed. We had each other. We had food, and Dad worked his butt off to keep a roof over our head, and Mom cared for us. So like we had everything we needed. So
Yeah, but one thing I have observed about you and about your brother and the rest of your family, and it's a really great, it's a blessing. A little bit of it probably is a curse too, but I think you guys all have been, you've lived life when you've had nothing.
yeah,
And so you're not as scared of it as someone who's never known it.
yeah,
And so, you know, you often have this mindset and attitude of like, well, if this all falls apart and everything that we have and everything we've done and built is stripped from us and is taken away and life comes crashing down, like, that's all right. I've been there before, and
there are food banks for reasons. For that reason, there's places, there's things you can do to get by, which is,
and not that we ever want to get there.
No,
but there's something freeing, I think, about living a life where you know what the worst is that can happen to you because you've been there. So
But our parents also fostered, like, my dad was a carpenter for years, and he would like have us help him do calculations of like what the square footage of the, you know, like the flooring he needed, and that was like, because we were homeschooled, that was like our math, which I tanked most of the time because I'm not a math person. I'm a creative.
Houses that were like lopsided and.
I didn't get asked to do flooring very much, but
and somehow you ended up being a teller.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks to Bree. That's why we know each other. My friend Bree, who got me that job, or recommended me. But Dad would always like, and Mom, like you know, it's kind of trendy today to like crack, like, oh, you have your kid crack an egg and just be like, oh, it's okay. Like that's just kind of how it was growing up. There wasn't like, oh, like, you know, helping Dad cut wood and you cut it wrong and he goes, oh, yep, that happens. Like it wasn't like this big blow up of like, oh my gosh, you screwed up. Like there was never that like instilled fear of like, oh, what happens if I mess up? Unfortunately, we were just delusional, and we have the why not gene, which is a blessing and a curse to be like, why the frick not me? Let's do this.
That's kind of what I mean though, is like there's less fear of things going wrong because you've experienced them going wrong, and then also because you've had an environment growing up where it wasn't the end of the world. Like there was forgiveness, there was it was a part of learning.
Yeah.
That's good.
I want that for our kid too.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, let's back up then. You asked me to marry you. What did I say?
I think you cursed once.
I said,
twice.
what the hell?
Oh yeah.
Because I was not expecting, because I was literally,
you weren't expecting it at all?
No, because I was so
I asked you to go on a walk
hiking in
the
December.
woods in December.
December 23rd.
In Illinois.
It wasn't that cold.
And we had been dating for
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah, but like the way you framed it, it was that because I told him I don't go out of town. I dated enough men that I was like, I'm not wasting holidays on boyfriends anymore. Like I'm not going to like take time away from my family's Christmas to go to a boyfriend's family Christmas. Like I only have so many, Christmases left with my family.
Just any boyfriend's Christmas?
Like just any boyfriend. Like
a boyfriend that you like met somewhere who was someone's boyfriend?
No, I'm saying like I wasted like
I'm just kidding.
holidays that I'm like, ew, I can't believe I wasted my holiday on that potato sack. Like, like it's just like gross. And I told him, I was like, I'm not going to waste any, not waste, but like, I'm not going to go spend holidays with your family because like I'm prioritizing my family. It was a boundary.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, then I want to see you before I go, because he went up to like his parents' hometown every year for like Christmas Eve and Christmas.
Yeah, see
at
the
that
grandparents
time.
and stuff.
Yeah, see the grandparents, aunts and uncles. And so he was like, well, I want to see you then before I go. And so like, let's just go hike in the woods. And I remember being like, it's so cold, but it's fine. And so like
It actually wasn't terrible though.
It wasn't.
It was actually kind of I lucked out. It was kind of a nice.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't muddy. I don't remember being like, oh, this mud is ridiculous. Like it was fine. I remember being in a leather coat, like my like pleather black coat, and being mad that I didn't do my nails. After you
got the rain?
It's all like crinkly. I'll post the picture on here, but it's all like crinkly glitter.
And then we planned a wedding on your grandpa's farm, which was really cool. I was just talking, my boss this week made some comment about weddings and how like he had just gone to a wedding over the weekend, and he was talking about how like they've just become these huge productions.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize that. I think he got married in the courthouse.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I wanted to elope.
I know. But we, I feel like, had a really nice and unique and fun outdoor wedding that we planned and put together, and was special because it was, at your grandpa's.
Mm-hmm. I've often thought like I didn't particularly enjoy our wedding day, but like I feel like it was the day that needed to happen, because pretty quickly after our wedding, we lost 75% of our grandparents.
Yeah.
And
we've got some good photos from that.
Yeah.
Of our grandparents and stuff.
Yep. And your grandpa prayed over the meal, which was nice.
Which I think we have on video somewhere.
I have it. Yeah. I have it on our server that you built. But yeah, it was definitely a day, because like I just don't think I'd ever felt that type of pressure before. If I can give any bride a piece of advice, hear me when I say hire somebody to manage the thing, like everything that day. So like you can prep everything, but hire somebody else to be the person to ask questions to, because I was getting bombarded with questions like every minute, literally. Like Irene's trying to do my makeup and they're like, ask me questions. And I just remember like a moment where like my eyes were like wide, and I was like, and Irene was like, all right, everybody out. And I was like, it was a lot. So hire somebody, like even just, I don't know, hire somebody. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Or even just designate somebody.
Yeah, an aunt, a sister who's not in the wedding party, but somebody to like, because we had this beautiful vision of like, it was on my grandparents' property. It's like, there's no reason just to set up the day of, but it had literally rained. Like obviously we got married on a Saturday, and it had rained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it was scheduled to rain all day Saturday.
It was bad, yeah. We were all like, was so wet, and we had all these folding chairs that people were supposed to sit in, and we tested them, and it was like,
I didn't know they tested them
into the soil. Yeah. It was bad.
And so, I remember one of the gals in my bridal party sending me photos of like rain wedding photo shoots, and me just being like, okay. Yeah, I mean, like, not like mad, not sad, just being like, okay, like this is what it's gonna be. It is what it is. But like by the grace of God, we prayed, and like we all prayed. Like I think my dad, my grandma, my mom, Irene, me. I think Sarah Scott was there too, and we all prayed like in my grandma's sunroom, which is where I slept that night, because I stayed out at their house. And we prayed that like at like, I don't know, 7 a.m, that the rain would stop, and that like winds would come through, and that it would dry it all out. And holy crap, talk about like an instant prayer that came to fruition. Like immediately it stopped raining within like 20 minutes. Immediately within 20 minutes. Oxymoron.
But I mean, after it had rained for days. Like, that's pretty immediate. And stopped raining, and then it like got super windy to the point where like everybody was trying to, the sun came out, everybody was trying to put stuff, like basically all these DIY, like think Pinterest 2016, all these DIY crafts I had spent months doing and thrifting.
and they're just like flying everywhere, and they're trying to ask me like, how can we secure it? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't expect it to be so windy. Which,
But it was very, very uncharacteristically windy. Like,
Yeah.
that's not,
super sunny, and
it just came through and like in it, but because of that, it
Yeah.
dried everything out.
everything. Like my dress wasn't muddy, nothing.
After
Like
days
I
of rain.
wasn't wearing shoes most of the day. So it was good.
It was crazy. So yeah, I mean, that saved it,
Yeah.
and it ended up being a lot of fun. I performed a little bit.
Yeah,
my
you
cover
did.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, don't perform at your own wedding either,
Yeah.
because I had to bring the stage in and bring the. Actually, the rest of the band might have set up most of the stage. Now that I think about it, but just kind of.
It was just a high stress day.
Well, it was. I feel like it was the wedding we wanted in so many ways, but we had to lean in a little to make it happen. And
Oh yeah. Which is like, it's kind of the theme of our life and our marriage is that like, okay, this is all like hard, but let's just like lean in and get this done,
Yep.
Which is,
It's
I
true.
think it's a good it's a teamwork characteristic of both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a thing that we have that's really nice. So yeah.
Yeah.
We got married. So then what did you think of marriage those first couple years prior to kids?
It was great.
Yeah.
Loved it. Yeah.
Because to me, I separate marriage in my mind of the first 5 years of our marriage and then the last 3.
The last 3 of our marriage? Is this
Not
the
the
last? Is this the last 3?
No, like
years we're gonna be married?
the last 3 that we've experienced. Like, because to me, they're different marriages.
Yeah, I would say that first chunk was definitely characterized by like all the performing.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of music. I was in my cover band for a little while still, and
Yeah.
then we were building up your band, and which we did some really awesome things. It was really cool, and I wouldn't ever take any of those experiences back.
Do you miss it?
No, I don't. But I also, again, wouldn't change it at all. Like I'm glad that we. Have you ever talked to your people
Vaguely.
about your?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about it for a second. So Aileeah is. I'm going to talk about you like you're not here.
This is where, like, if I could animate this, where I would just like disappear into liquid and
Just shrink away. What was
That's
that
why
show?
I like having the podcast, because I can promote the podcast. I don't love promoting Aileeah. I should have done like a pseudonym. Like I should have.
Are you too young to remember the Nickelodeon show, The Secret? I think it's The Secret World of Alex Mack, or The Secret
Yeah,
Life
never
of
heard of
Alex
that.
Mack. I think that's what it was. It was this girl. I hope some people know what I'm talking about, but it was this girl, a show about a girl whose like superpower was that she could turn into this like silverish goo. She would just melt into a puddle on the floor.
What a worthless skill.
And I think she was supposed to be invisible, but they made it so that like you could still see
Right.
her. It was like this. She was like this silvery metallic.
Okay.
She sort of looked, if I remember right, she looked like a gigantic puddle of mercury. And she would like slide under the door and like down the hall at school and like hear conversations she wasn't supposed to. And I always was like, why don't these people see her? I don't understand. It's just. Anyway.
Is that me? Is that what you're saying?
It's you when you talk about wanting to just like
Yeah.
just shrink into the couch. But
Yeah.
anyway, what I was going to talk about is your really successful music career. And obviously there's a limit to this success because we're not doing it much anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's really cool. We built up a whole business out of it and a band, and
Yeah.
we were touring and played all kinds of stuff. You opened for Toby Keith, opened for Lee Greenwood, Rodney Atkins, Kane Brown, Ray Lynn, Scotty McCreery, several more. You did like pre-shows, which are like other locations at an event like it's not really opening, but it's like it's a different. You're still playing at the event on a different stage, but you did that for like Luke Bryan and Shania Twain, I think some others.
If I could do it over again, I would do a lot differently because I just know
Like what?
more. I know more about like social media is different now.
You would have done.
I could have
different with
done
the content.
so much different with the content and merch. Like there wasn't like drop shipping for stuff, so it was always such a pain to like go find a place, print shirts and all the things. And I would just do it differently.
Yeah, I mean, so your brother, meanwhile, was trying to run a record label, and so we went through him, and I think he was trying to do it with so few resources, and you know, I think altogether we did a lot of good things.
We all did the best we could with what we had.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was a great memory to make with like you and Jacob and Irene. Like it was great memories.
We played a bunch of
Your
music.
cable's super tight right there. Like it's all it looks super tight, is it not?
Yeah, I guess so. There we go. We played a bunch of music festivals. We played Country Fest several years in a row in Wisconsin, which was cool. We played on Broadway in Nashville.
I don't want to talk about me. I'm having
Sorry,
you
I'm
on.
just telling you. Yeah, you never want to talk about you, so I'm telling people how cool you are. But
Do you know who Procter & Gamble is?
I wish I didn't.
They're the owners of Pampers and Loves. They help fund the murder and mutilation of children. Did you know that?
Which is bizarre for someone who claims to care about your child's rear end.
Not to mention that, but also their stuff is filled with harsh chemicals, endocrine disruptors, carcinogens, like in the diaper on your kids' most sensitive parts. It tells you exactly who they are and that they actually don't care about your kid. They care about getting your money for their product. I have made the switch and I have not looked back once.
Good.
It's with EVERYLIFE. They are a non-toxic diaper company, but they auto ship to your door and we have a code with them now because I use their product like we always do, guys. We use the product first and then we're like, we reach out, we're like, guys, we want to talk about you on the podcast because we think our listeners would actually really benefit from this information.
Yes.
So, or this product. So, anywho, but yeah, we have a code with them.
Woohoo! Code UTSP10.
Yeah, and you get 10% off your purchase, which I don't think you'll regret at all. It's non-toxic, super soft, really like, it feels like a nice quality. And it doesn't feel like plastic, if that makes sense.
And they don't support murder. They don't support murder.
okay, fine, but that characterized much of the early part of our marriage because it was either rehearsing and performing or we were like in the studio, either at Jake's studio or home studio, like recording stuff and doing recording and producing music. So that was a really big part of it. But it's weird because like until we've talked about this, but until you have kids, you don't realize still how much time you had.
Oh man, I had so much time.
And so that leads us to the more recent chunk of our marriage, which has been parenthood, and which has been awesome.
Yeah,
it's been something that we've had to, I think, have like much more intentional discussions and planning around like how we attack the day in the week, in the month, in the year, because we have to like, I've always said that, I've said it to you and I've said it to lots of people that like, I think what makes a really healthy marriage is being in business with your spouse because
it's an entity you're both wanting to succeed.
Yes, because it's not just like the experience for me isn't just about what's right for me. And your experience isn't about just what's right for you. It's about, there's this third piece to it, which is what's right for this separate thing. So if you have a business together and you have a partnership in that business, then you're, as partners, you should be thinking, again, not about what's just right for me or just right for that other person, but what's right for, for the business itself. Like I may not like it. It may kind of suck for me right now for whatever reason, but like I want the business to succeed. So I'm going to lean in and I'm going to, prioritize that. And I feel like if you do that in your marriage, and recognize that the marriage itself, the union is in a lot of ways its own standalone thing, its own entity where, you know, you prioritize not just what's right for you or like what's right for me or what's right for you, but also what's right for the marriage. And so I feel like we've done a good job of operating that way. And, you know, since having our daughter, we've had to like work through a lot of like time management stuff and like build systems and process, downsize and like make some decisions even financially, like about.
Well, sorry, I meant like declutter, like get rid of stuff.
Yeah,
That's
but
like
also
wasting
downsize,
time.
like
Also
move
downsize,
into a smaller house, which is weird to do when as you start growing your family to move into a smaller house. But
well, because it warranted, like we couldn't stay in that house.
Smaller house, way
with
bigger
one
yard.
income. Yeah.
We had no yard in our own
no
house.
yard, huge house.
2 dogs and a kid. It didn't make any sense.
No. And so it was good. Like this was a good move.
Yeah.
But
we've, you know, again, that's the trademark of, you know, this portion of our marriage, I think, is maturing in establishing a marriage that can grow and that we can be, again, active contributors to this marriage and this family at all times by understanding and communicating about like what's needed and how do we do things.
I think it's edifying, all of it. Becoming parents, like not only having to like die to yourself for your kid. I mean, like I'm tired. I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, or like, you know, whatever it is. Like there's always an excuse of like, I don't want to right now, or I'm super sick and I don't want to nurse this baby. But it's super edifying for having a child to like be like, oh yeah, like it's not about me. Like dying to yourself is really good. But then also like with a spouse who maybe thinks differently about a certain situation than you do, or it's good to like, it's really, I feel like the last 3 years has been way more edifying for our marriage than like the first time. Like the first 5 years was like really easy because like, I don't know, it was very easy.
And it was good.
It was
like,
very good. Yeah.
I feel like people,
all of it's good. It's just different.
Right. No, but 100%. But I just mean like, I'm happy that, you know, like, cause some people have kids right away and that's okay too. I'm pretty happy that we got to like live life as a married couple for a while. We got to travel a lot when we were doing music. We, I think, got to really know each other well. And now I think it makes it easier. Like I can't imagine getting married and like, cause like, you know, someone pretty well when you date them. You learn so much more about them and get to know them much better, obviously, once you get married and you're living with them and that's your existence. But that would be really hard to do, to get to know somebody like when you're immediately also like having kids, because as we've talked about, like there's no manual for that. You just got to kind of figure it out, and it's tough and it's trying and you got to kind of tough it out sometimes. And that would be really difficult to like, you know, to be introduced to somebody in that.
I'm grateful I didn't get like so indoctrinated, because I remember for many years I was like, I'm going to wait till our career, like the music career is hopping before I ever have kids, or I'm going to wait till we're like super wealthy before we have kids, because, you know, then we'll be able to focus on them. I'm so glad I didn't accept that. We'd still be waiting, which is okay. It's okay that we didn't get rich is what I'm saying. But like, I'm so glad I didn't take on that narrative any longer. Because like 2 years into our marriage, like my uterus was like, give me a child. So then we got Ryman, our dog. And then it was fine for a while. And then my uterus started perking up again. And then it was like, we got Nashville. And then I was like,
our other dog,
which, guys, let me just warn you, don't get a dog if you're trying to band-aid the feeling of having a baby. Just have the baby. It's easier because then you don't have a dog and a baby, because eventually the baby's going to come anyways. So,
but however, I do think I talk about nothing can really prepare you for being a parent, but like,
don't compare it. I don't think so.
I think it's pretty similar. I don't think it's similar. I think that for someone who hasn't maybe had much responsibility in their life, and someone who hasn't had to do things that they don't want to do, like, did I say that right? For someone who's not used to like having to do a thing because you have to, like even when you don't want to. I think having dogs is useful for that because like it gives you. I don't think it's good to like have your dog be your baby.
Yeah.
But
that's what most people do. They get a dog and they're like, it's my child. I'm a dog mom. And it's like, you're not a dog mom. You're a woman who owns a dog.
Right. And that's, that is, maybe you'll get some hate for that, but that is the perspective we have, I think, as people who own 2 dogs, but now who have a young child who the dogs don't measure up. The dogs will never measure up. But like,
I want to exclude though. I want to do a disclaimer though, because I do know a couple people who listen to our podcast and are very, very lovely human beings, and they were unable to conceive, and they like their dogs are their kids. Like that's what they pour into, and that's different. That's different, and that's a different category.
I think what you're talking about is maybe like a 20-year-old who gets a puppy and pours their.
Like that energy is there for a reason, and it's wasted on an animal.
Yeah.
A little bit, but.
Yeah. But I think about the experience of having to be responsible for and take care of something beyond yourself.
Yeah.
You got to remember to feed and water your dog. You need to be around to let them out. You got to wipe off their feet when they come in really muddy. You got to wash them when they, get in a fight with the skunk or roll in something dead or whatever, and like
kill the beaver
and kill an animal and come in all bloody and scratched up, and then you're like on your way out the door and you're like, okay, I guess I'm gonna deal with this now.
Can I tell that story?
I'm just saying that those types of, yes you can, those types of things I think do prepare you a little bit for being a parent. Like even training a dog and like teaching
training our dogs.
Teaching your dog, you behave this way in this situation. You don't behave like this. You don't like. It's still
and follow through. Like no, we said no, don't do this, and it's like no.
And understanding like how to distribute like consequence.
Yeah.
And also patience and so I think I get.
You piss off a lot of people when you say it's compared to dogs.
I know people who have kids do not like when you tell them that it's a little bit like having dogs, but we have both. We have 2 dogs and we now have a 2.5-year-old. And I feel very strongly that it was a positive experience for us in our marriage to learn to like care for these other things that aren't just ourselves.
And also like see the consequences of our poor decisions.
Yeah,
on animals first before a child.
Yes.
Of like, here's what happens when you don't pay attention to them. Here's what happens when you don't train them up in the way they should go.
100%. And if you don't follow through and let them get away with stuff. So, yes.
What would you say to like a guy which our demographic is not guys, but maybe one of our listeners send it to their boyfriend or husband. And they're like, I don't want to get married. It's a trap. I don't want to have kids. That's where dreams go to die. What would you say to them?
Have you heard men talk like this?
I have heard men talk like this. And I've also heard men say that they don't find their wife attractive after watching her give birth, which I wanted to get your take on too.
Are these men whose wives are unattractive before they gave birth?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, well.
Yep. There it is. Then I guess.
I feel like you can't go wrong. Here's the trick. You got to find someone whose values align with yours.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to marry somebody or date somebody that for the person they are in that moment, because human beings evolve and change over time. You're a certain type of person in a certain environment with certain things going on in your life. And then years later, you have to adapt and become someone a little bit different. But I think deep down, someone with core values that align with your core values, you can never go wrong with that. And then after that, just on top of the values, just try to find someone who's like as hot as you can get away with, and then you're going to be set.
What do you? I want to talk about Leo's birth video.
Yeah.
Because that's like the portal into our relationship that people have commented the most on. I mean, her birth video has just shy of 2 million views, and every single comment is like, yeah, the mom's strong, but that husband, I've never seen a husband get in the tub with his wife. I've never seen a husband to be so attentive. And even our birth doula, Shannon, shout out to Shannon, she said that it was her, like, she's done over 500 births, and she said it was one of her favorite births because of you.
Well, we had a big tub,
Yeah.
which made it maybe a little easier.
Yeah, I don't think that could happen
I
here.
don't know if you'd want me in that tiny tub upstairs.
No, I don't think it would work, but
Um,
we had honestly the perfect setup for a home birth there. We should like see if we can Airbnb that out. Or we'll be like, hey, excuse me.
like
For a
if
nice
they'll Airbnb it to us. you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be weird.
But everyone commented that like they were so impressed that you were attentive, you were in the water, out of the water, very just present. Most dads are like, I'm a man, I'm sitting in the corner watching football, waiting for this to be over. That's literally what most men do.
I don't really watch football.
I know, praise God. I don't know. I didn't realize it was a priority at the time, but praise God that I did not marry a gamer or a football man, like, or a sports guy.
A football man.
Like
Well, the Super Bowl's tomorrow.
I'm not Catholic, but I felt like
ironically.
doing that. I'm like, no, thank God.
Yeah.
I did marry a man though who was a chronic entrepreneur, and we start businesses like they're going out of style.
Hey, man.
It's a good thing though. You're ambitious.
Yeah, I think for me, the birth, I felt very much a part of the birth because in a shared responsibility, because I think you helped me, you brought me along to understand that like the pregnancy was also like a shared experience. And even before that, conception was how you doing? was a shared experience because like we started, thanks to you, I give you the credit basically all along the way, because like you started this journey for both of us on like, hey, if we're gonna have kids, we should probably get our systems in order and like make sure that we are as healthy.
Which was revolutionary at the time. I had never heard anybody talk about that before.
Yeah. So you kind of worked on both of us in a variety of ways to help make sure that we were healthy and that we were, cut out some things that shouldn't be in our lives, like all kinds of
Yummy things.
You hadn't really, I feel like you hadn't quite you've learned more as time has gone on about like there's more things that we've cut out basically since
Oh
then,
yeah,
but
there's a lot we've done even since Leo.
Yeah.
But that's why like you have to give yourself grace because you don't know what you don't know.
right. But you helped to make sure, I think, that we were physically as prepared to breed a healthy child as we could.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was a part of that. You helped me understand like what I could be doing, to ensure that my body and my sperm were were ready for your egg. Not to get too graphic here.
We're gonna pause right here.
Is that flirting in your mind?
Yeah, it is. I got a really low bar.
But then like throughout pregnancy, I think we worked like it was very much your pregnancy was as much like my pregnancy. It was an experience for both of us, and I say that sort of hesitantly because like I didn't have to carry a kid around in my stomach,
I remember like sending you lots of links and being like, watch from this point to this point, or just communicating like the things that were going on.
Well, and you were listening. We were doing.
I was relentless with podcasts.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of home renovations at the time, and so you would just play these podcasts as we worked together, or from the other room, and I'd hear them. But so we learned a lot about what was going on in your body during the development, fetal development, and what you were experiencing. And so I was learning from like fairly sophisticated, like medical perspective, what was happening to you. And then we took that course that,
Yeah. I don't recommend it anymore because she's pro mutilation of babies till 9 months.
yeah,
So.
which
But
is
it
not
was a
good.
good course.
But it was a good course. It was a course that basically prepared both of us for what was going to come in like the final stages of pregnancy and then during birth, like what was actually happening and how to, was it like
It was like hypnobirthing.
Hypnobirthing, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of just understanding like what the muscles in your uterus are doing and how your body is responding and like how to work with it versus
Yeah.
fight it and all these things. And so
And like weird noises are normal. Like all these things are normal.
And so what's really interesting is like I am really thankful that I had that introduction. Like that shouldn't just be the mother's education, because like dad is going to be there and
As he should be.
as he should be.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I was going to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. What's her name said this was going to happen. Like, here we are. And I think it just helped me to be a more supportive partner. But that's like always been my role though, too. Like you know, I've always been, I think, your support when we perform too. Like it's been my job to make sure that you can execute. Like
I think we
really,
support each other though.
No, we
like
do,
even like
100%. But I'm saying like in the first many years of our marriage,
yeah.
I was like your band leader, and I was your, you know, accompanist, like your guitar player when we'd go play acoustically and stuff. And it was my job to basically facilitate your best performance.
You did a great job.
That was kind of, I think, in some ways how I tried to approach the birth of our kiddo.
You did good. A lot of people love that video. They love you in it. I'm so glad we recorded it.
You did good. I just had to.
I did do good.
You did do really good.
Downside though of
You roared like a lion though once or twice.
quite a few times.
Yeah, which was.
Trust me, I had to go through. I mean, it was 3 angles for 26 hours ish. So like it was not
The footage,
obviously
you mean, that
constantly.
you
Yeah,
had
but
to,
like it was a lot
go
of.
through?
I did all that like 3 months postpartum. I was like, I'm so impressed with myself. But like they're just potatoes at that point. Like it's whip out a titty and it's fine. But anyways. This is a ladies podcast. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think on our podcast we've ever said just whip out a titty and it's fine.
Yeah, no.
For Jake
You probably
and I.
get a smack from Irene and I. Okay, I don't want to keep you, and our kid will probably wake up soon because we're about 56 minutes in.
I'm just enjoying your delicious homemade hot chocolate
I've become,
in Irene's
guys,
cup.
I think I'm going to release a video on my personal channel about my pantry staples that I like home make, like my pancake mix, my hot chocolate mix.
Your
the
starter
things.
for your sourdough.
Well, yeah, that's different. But like, just
That doesn't
things
count?
like
Why is that different?
Well, that or like, just like, because it's not a pantry item. They live in the fridge. Pantry items are like dried goods. So like powders of like, oh, here's my pancake mix, my hot cocoa, my biscuits, my, you know, other stuff. And then also I'm going to release, I figured out homemade yogurt and granola, right? Wasn't it good?
You're a homesteader when you're making biscuits.
I actually miss biscuits and gravy really bad. Okay. Any parting thoughts? Any parting advice for
I don't
any
know.
men who are
What was your goal for having me on for this
just I
Valentine's
don't
Day
know,
week?
just to chit chat about love and marriage and I don't know, any wisdom you want to share with our ladies? who listen?
Well, one time, a long time ago, the 4 of us all podcasted
Yeah,
together.
I know. That was unhinged. People loved it.
Well, I think during that podcast, I said something to the effect of how I wanted to kind of wait till I had it all together. You know, had everything figured out, was, you know, sophisticated and you know, well on my way in my career and making lots of money and this and that and the other thing. And what's interesting is like now having worked like several years in most people just don't ever figure that out. Like you never get to the point, I don't think, where you just like stop and look around and you're like, all right, I got it all together and I'm doing great and everything's fine and this and that. Like I just don't think that most people get to that point. At least not in any reasonable time before they want to get married. Like not, I think hopefully by the time you're, 50 years old, maybe you have gotten to a point where you've sort of established things in your life. But
but like what a gift to do that with someone you love. And
Yeah,
to
exactly,
be like, and to
exactly.
see, it's like
So I
really
waited-
beautiful to
we
see
waited
some
too
each
long to
other
get married.
struggle. Yeah, we did.
is
Too
my
long to
point.
get
We waited too long. I should have married you a lot sooner and we could have started on our adventure sooner. But everything happens in the right timing and God's timing. But we, I guess my words of wisdom would be like, when you find the right person, start your life with them. Like, don't wait until, don't like try to build your own life and do try to improve yourself 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think try to make yourself the best person
That's something
you
that
can
should
be.
never end.
Yes, but don't put off building your life with your spouse, your future spouse, and and everything that brings, and all the experiences and joy that brings, just because you think you need to have it all together and figured out first. Yeah. That's what I would say. Why? Any advice that you have?
No, I just was thinking about, I always think about the song I wrote for Brecken about like, there's in the bridge, it's like, it's really just day by day, moment by moment, no matter how fast or slow you're going. Take a deep breath and one step at a time. It's really just day by day, moment by moment, no matter how fast or slow you're going. Take a deep breath and one step at a time. You will never be perfect, and that's all right. It's just like we will never reach the perfection.
Isn't she lovely?
Stop.
I love when you sing. I don't get to hear you sing very often anymore.
Leo, anytime I sing, she goes, "No, you need to be quiet." I'm like, okay.
She does not like when we sing. She, though, is quite the singer.
She's quite the musical gal.
She is.
And
she's
she's already written 2 songs, and she's 2.5.
I helped her write one about whales.
Right.
She was a co-writer. Give me some credit.
All right, co-writer. Jeez. Okay. Well, any other parting thoughts at all? Thanks for being here. I know I told you it'd be 45 minutes, and now it's an hour. So
It's an hour?
yeah, we're at an hour right now.
Oh, it's not bad. I thought we were probably way over.
I just want people to know that our origin story, and then maybe next time we'll get deeper into
like we're
marriage
X-Men or
tips.
something?
I guess, I don't know.
Some sort of superheroes?
Well, thanks for tuning into today's podcast, everybody. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
This content is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice.
Please do your own research and find a trusted medical professional for personalized guidance and advice.
We are not responsible for your decisions based on the information you hear on this podcast.
Bye.
Bye.